We humans have advanced at such a rapid pace that we have reached nearly every corner of the world and even look to expand into space. But as advanced as we may seem, Mother Nature will always be there to humble us. And her most active hand is weather, a force that dictates the way we go about our days. We may think we understand a lot about our weather, even being able to predict it. But as we all know, meteorologists are far from perfect. There are many things that we don't know about our planet's weather, and today we are going to look at the weather and its mysteries on and even off our planet in the Weather and Sky Phenomenon's Iceberg. So, without a further ado, let's get into the iceberg. And to start off our iceberg, we fittingly have sunny skies. Sunny weather is the most common state of weather there is and is the best to have, with the sun shining down, bright rays of sunshine, with little if any clouds and bright blue sky. And despite a day being sunny, it isn't always warm, with many of us being fooled into underdressing on a sunny winter day. And yeah, a lot of the earlier tiers of this iceberg are going to be super basic, so bear with me. Partially cloudy is pretty self-explanatory when there are some clouds in the sky that may block out the sun on occasion. A cloudy sky will have mostly clouds in the sky, with clouds blocking out the sun with blotches of blue sky still visible. And an overcast sky means that the sun and the blue sky is entirely blocked out by clouds, with overcast skies blocking out 95% of the sky. Usually, overcast skies are covered by stratus clouds, a sheet-like layer of cloud that cover most of the sky and sometimes will cause light precipitation. Rain is what happens when clouds, usually cumulus, stratus, cirrus, and nimbus clouds, become saturated with water and begin to disperse droplets of water from the sky. Sun showers can also occur during partially cloudy days with the sun shining, while the wind carries rain from distant clouds, creating a pleasant drizzle. Rain is often dictated by factors such as moisture and temperature in an area that causes these bouts of rain, with some areas causing more rainfall than others. Many times, especially in tropical areas, a clash of cold and warm fronts become breeding grounds for heavy rainstorms due to a constant clash of cold and warm winds, creating large cumulonimbus clouds that are known for their imposing tower-like structure of dark clouds that often cause violent downpours. Wind is our air's movement across the planet. Most areas have at least a light breeze, but wind can vary drastically from day to day depending on geography, weather systems, and the time of year. Windy weather usually constitutes a constant wind speed of 20 to 30 miles per hour. However, powerful windstorms with wind speeds exceeding 40 miles per hour can cause drastic damage along with accelerating evaporation of water, creating massive storm systems which can destroy entire towns. And on a less devastating phenomena, rainbows are always a pleasant sight to see. Rainbows are created when light shines on water droplets, usually following rain or during sun showers. In order to form, light must hit the droplets at a 42-degree angle aligned from the viewer's perspective. Most people view rainbows as a symbol of perseverance and overcoming rough times due to them usually forming after dreary, bland weather. Although typical rainbows are the most common, many other forms of rainbows exist that are formed through light shining through moisture in the atmosphere in different ways. And these rainbows include double rainbows, triple rainbows, fog bows, lunar rainbows, monochrome rainbows, primary rainbows, supernumerary rainbows, circular rainbows, and many other types of rainbows out there. And starting tier 2 of the iceberg, we have one of my favorite types of weather, snow. Snow occurs when droplets in the atmosphere freeze and fall down from the sky, and if it's cold enough, you'll get a nice white sheet of snow covering the ground. Only the atmosphere where the clouds are has to be cold enough for snow to fall, but if the ground itself isn't as cold or at the freezing point, snow will not stick and you'll kind of just have a pretty horrible driving situation. One thing you may not have known is that around 10 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 20 degrees Celsius, it's actually too cold for it to snow due to the air becoming extremely dry. And Even though snow makes driving awful, I still love it whenever it snows. Although the past few years only give me like one solid snowstorm where I live. So, yeah, mostly dry winters or wet, not cold enough, still cold, miserable winters over here. My crying aside, let's keep going. Drizzle is a pleasant, light precipitation that has far smaller droplets opposed to typical rain droplets. Drizzle droplets are less than 0.5 millimeters in diameter and will mostly evaporate before falling to the ground. Opposed to rain, drizzle is far less deterring and, if anything, can be nice and refreshing, especially if you're doing something physical outside. Although, it usually is accompanying foggier weather when it's drizzling, so it still might be gray and glooming and a bit deterring. Now, stormy weather is a super vague entry, and there are more specific examples of storms later, but stormy conditions usually consist of these three factors. The National Weather Service lists moisture, an unstable atmosphere, and some way to start the atmosphere moving as three basic ingredients needed for storms to develop. Common signs of stormy weather include dark skies, thick air, strong winds, heavy downpour, thunder, and lightning. Storms pop up mostly during warmer months of the year, such as spring, summer, and the early fall seasons. Clear weather is pretty much just another way of saying it's sunny. So I guess this refers to more tranquil moments where it isn't too sunny, but there's some clouds, but this is pretty much a repeat entry. A downpour is a huge dump of rain that occurs seemingly out of nowhere. Downpours occur when warm, moist conditions cause clouds to dump massive amounts of rain suddenly from huge cumulonimbus clouds. Downpours can cause damage through the strength of the rain falling and the floods that swiftly build up in some areas. Despite this, downpours can be soothing when you're trying to take a nap, untouched from the raging storm outside, at least until your power goes out or your roof starts leaking, that is. Now shifting away from our planet's natural phenomenon for a moment, solar flares are brief, powerful eruptions of energy coming from our sun's surface. Solar flares occur when the sun's magnetic fields cause supercharged particles interacting with plasma on the sun's surface, causing a huge reaction and shoots off huge masses of electromagnetic radiation, passing the sun's atmosphere near the speed of light. Solar flares are so powerful that even we are reached by solar flares 93 million miles away. Our planet's atmosphere serves as a force field to protect us from solar flares. However, solar flares can interfere with our radio communication systems and can cause large amounts of ultraviolet radiation to leak into our atmosphere. Coronal mass ejections are similar to solar flares, but instead of shooting out of the sun's surface, CMEs are expulsions of the sun's magnetosphere and plasma shooting from the sun, like how a solar flare does. CMEs can affect our technology similarly to solar flares, disrupting our satellites, high-flying planes, and power systems, but our magnetosphere defends us from the brunt of our waves. Hopefully this video is going to teach you to put some respect on the magnetosphere's name. And on to tier 3, we have hail. Hail is a destructive form of precipitation that occurs when updrafts lift rain droplets during thunderstorms, causing the water to freeze before bombarding everything below it. These hailstones can vary in size from pea-size to as large as a grapefruit, making hailstorms very dangerous. Hail can shatter windshields and windows, cause damage to buildings, and can even prove to be fatal to anyone caught in the storm. Hailstorms can also serve as a calling sign for tornadoes forming nearby due to the strong updrafts. Fog is basically a cloud that is formed at ground level. Fog forms when water vapor or ice particles condense lower down, usually stopped by moisture in the air following some type of precipitation. There are many different types of fog, including radiation fog, ground fog, advection fog, evaporation fog, frontal fog, ice fog, freezing fog, hail fog, slip fog, and unfortunately, haze. Try saying those types of fogs without saying frog, by the way. Haze is a form of airborne pollution that forms in the ways fog forms, but carries harmful pollutants in the air. These clouds carry pollutants for miles and can cause respiratory problems as well as causing vast environmental damage. Lightning forms when atmospheric conditions allow for electrically charged regions to discharge powerful bolts of energy. Lightning's power is terrifying to everything, including us, so much so that we even got a name for the noise emitted by it, referring to it as thunder. Lightning and thunder most commonly occur during, you guessed it, thunderstorms. Thunderstorms are the most common form of what we would qualify as a storm. These storms, with their dark cumulonimbus clouds, strong winds, and are caused by cold and warm fronts in the air colliding, creating highly moist and electrically charged conditions leading to strong storms. Hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones are pretty much the same storm, with the only distinction being the region that they form in. Northern Atlantic, Central North Pacific, and Eastern North Pacific regions refer to these storms as hurricanes. Indian and Western Pacific regions refer to them as typhoons, and most other regions south of the equator prefer to call them cyclones. Now that we got the nomenclature out the way, hurricanes are massive spiraling storms that form in tropical regions during summer months. These storms tend to vary in terms of intensity, but are often devastating to anything in the storm's path. The destruction caused by powerful winds, thunderous downpour, and the flooding can even be felt several years after they pass. These storms tend to be most powerful when they're connected to the ocean, with them dissipating in strength once they start to move inland. Monsoons are seasonal changes in local wind currents that shift the more dominant winds to flow differently. These periods typically cause rain to occur less often, but when it does rain, it is a very stronger downpour. Monsoons can cause affected regions, typically regions south of the equator, to enter wet and dry seasons. These dry seasons can even turn into droughts, and droughts are extended periods of time that have scarce to no precipitation. Droughts can occur seasonally in some areas, however, extended droughts can cause extreme environmental and agricultural damages. Solar winds are streams of charged particles that are released from the sun's corona. These winds flow throughout the solar system, similar to other space phenomena I've covered so far, but at a far larger scale. The scale of these winds creates a less concentrated yet far larger massive energy that bombards our magnetosphere, and like solar flares, these charged winds can cause much damage to communication and electricity systems down here on Earth. And starting tier 4 off, we have snowstorms and blizzards. Blizzards are my favorite type of storm to get shut in on. Snowstorms are, well, storms with a lot of snow in them. And blizzards are snowstorms taken to a higher level. Blizzards typically involve heavy snowfall, but can be qualified as wind transporting large amounts of loose snow that had already fallen. A blizzard is qualified by winds that carry snow at a sustained speed of at least 35 miles per hour and typically last for around 3 to 4 hours. And although I enjoy getting snowed in, blizzards can be extremely destructive, especially in areas that are not used to getting constant snowfall, causing power outages, unsafe or even inaccessible roads, and obviously freezing temperatures. Acid rain is precipitation that is, well, acidic. Any rainwater that has a pH level under 7 is considered acid rain. Acid rain is mainly caused by pollution as a result of our fossil fuels, oil refineries, and manufacturing, but can also occur naturally as a result of volcanic reactions. Long-term exposure to acid rain can have harmful effects on trees and forests, soil, bodies of water, and animals, including us. Acid rain could wipe out entire forests, transforming them into barren wastelands. In fact, acidification from acid rain can even be traced to the food we eat. Tornadoes are powerful funnels of wind that form from cumulonimbus and sometimes just cumulus clouds. Tornadoes can vary in appearance and intensity, but even weaker tornadoes can consist of wind speeds of 110 miles per hour and can expand 250 feet across. Areas such as the American Midwest are breeding grounds for tornadoes, with them often wreaking havoc on anything in their path. Debris as large as cars and houses can be ripped away from the ground and thrown miles away by these massive twisters. Smog is an intense form of air pollution that leaves affected areas in thick clouds of chemicals. Smog is a direct result of large-scale industrialization and mainly affects cities with large factory districts, but can also form naturally from volcanic eruptions and plants reacting to atmospheric conditions. These clouds of poison can cause acid rain, as well as directly causing health complications in animals and people, with mortality rates increasing in highly concentrated areas of smog. Volcanic clouds, also known as pyroclastic flows, are large clouds of volcanic ash, debris, and natural gases that flow out of volcanoes at high speeds. The presence of hydrogen sulfide in these clouds gives them an awful smell, but if you could smell them, you might have other problems coming your way, because these clouds are extremely dangerous due to their speed, hot temperature, and spreading of toxic gases, and covering victims in volcanic casts. Pompeii is one of the most well-known examples of volcanic activity wreaking havoc on cities, leaving its victims frozen in time, encased in volcanic casts. As noted prior, these clouds of debris can cause acid rain and smog, along with them lingering in the air and covering nearby areas, blocking out the sun and cooling the air in these environments, and then the ash begins to fall down to Earth and cover everything below. Now, we've talked about the work our magnetosphere puts in to save us from solar radiation, and auroras are a pleasant side effect of it. Auroras are a result of the charged particles from these solar events interacting with the polar areas of the magnetosphere, causing colorful displays in the night sky. I like to think auroras as a symbol of resilience and endurance, as our magnetosphere protects us from powerful solar blasts. Auroras are not exclusive to Earth, as other planets and even comets have their own auroras due to them possessing magnetic fields. While we're talking about our magnetosphere, geomagnetic storms are what occurs when solar winds, solar flares, and CMEs reach the magnetosphere. We kind of already discussed them earlier during the other solar phenomena, so I'm not going to spend too much time recapping it, but these storms usually result in disturbances that can cause power outages, communication disruption, radiation, and that can be harmful to us, and auroras, as we just discussed. And we get to some more interesting phenomena as we start Tier 5 with firestorms. Firestorms are massive fires that are so large that they can create and sustain their own wind systems. These firestorms are formed when fire draw in massive amounts of air to the point to where updrafts create even more wind to fuel the fire more and more. They create clouds known as pyrocumulus clouds, or if the firestorm is large enough, even pyrocumulonimbus clouds. These clouds rain dark, polluted rain composed of soot and can produce lightning. Firestorms form during large wildfires naturally, but can also form through large-scale firebombings, with many of these in World War II occurring, creating massive firestorms as a side effect. Freezing rain is rain that falls while the air is too thin to freeze the droplets in the air, so instead they freeze upon contact. Freezing rain usually accumulates in storms known as ice storms. These storms create an ice called glaze ice that covers whatever they fall on and further accumulates with repeated droplets landing. Freezing rain can greatly disrupt transportation, harm trees and wildlife, as well as causing power outages. Virgas are bizarre forms of precipitation that evaporate before they reach the ground. In a virga, ice crystals from colder atmospheres will fall into warmer areas and will vaporize rapidly. These events created visible shafts of precipitation below the clouds. Virgas usually occur in warm, temperate climates and typically feed into larger storm systems forming due to the atmospheric conditions. Now, volcanic ash is not like the typical ash you would see after a fire. Volcanic ash is composed of tiny rocks and natural forming glass being carried by toxic gases. Volcanic ash from eruption falls in events known as ash falls, where the ash coats the ground below like a snowfall. Unlike snow, however, these events can be catastrophic, contaminating water, damaging vehicles and power systems, and causing harm to all life forms caught in the ashfall. Waterspouts are pretty much the water equivalent to a tornado. They form just like tornadoes, but will occur over large bodies of water, most commonly in tropic and subtropic climates. Like tornadoes, they can be extremely dangerous to encounter while on the water. If it's a low-level spout, you could just get soaked, but you could also have your boat thrown 200 feet in the air in the case of stronger waterspouts, so it's best to avoid them and just look from afar. And starting tier 6 of the iceberg off, we have sandstorms and dust storms. Now, sandstorms and dust storms are large gusts of wind that pick up loose sand and or dirt, creating massive, imposing forces of nature. These storms occur in dry, arid climates like deserts or in the dried out plains of the American Midwest. These storms are not exclusive to Earth, as large and powerful dust storms occur on the desert planet of Mars. Dust storms can carry these dirt particles for miles at high speeds, with potentially causing damage to everything in their path, such as the case of the American Dust Bowl. However, sometimes wind-carrying nutrient-rich soil can aid plant growth in areas like the Amazon, Hawaii, and the American Midwest as well. Lightning doesn't necessarily need rain to occur. Dry thunderstorms occur during dry storms, as you might have guessed, but these can be pretty dangerous as there's no rain to put out the fires caused by lightning strikes. These can easily create firestorms in areas with dry vegetation, but can also create dust storms in some areas, kicking up loose soil. Saturn's moon of Titan has caught the eye of many scientists and astronomers due to how planet-like it is. Titan is the only known moon to have an atmosphere more dense than the Earth's, along with evidence of the moon possessing bodies of liquid on its surface. These liquids are not water, but are actually liquid methane that evaporates, condensates, and precipitates. These methane rains are more like drizzles than rains, and scientists have even observed small cyclones and even infrared rainbows occurring on the moon. The Late Heavy Bombardment is a large-scale astronomical event theorized to have happened 4.1 to 3.8 billion years ago that affected all celestial bodies within the asteroid field. During this time, a large number of asteroids and comets pelted the rocky planets and moons, with lots of evidence and discussion around the theory revolving around the moon and its many basins. Many rocks collected from the moon during the Apollo missions have tested and showed signs of melting during a heavy impact that was radiometric dated within the 300 million year window, and the landing spot of Apollo 15, 16, and 17 were chosen due to the location of the lunar basins that formed as a result of the impact nearby. The late heavy bombardment theory is widely accepted. However, there are still many skeptics of the theory, mainly having problems with the formation of lunar basins and the dating of the rocks not being accurate. One theory as to why this bombardment occurred is that a mysterious fifth inner planet began spiraling from beyond Mars and towards the Sun, disrupting the asteroid belt and other celestial orbits, causing the Great Bombardment. And starting tier 7 off, we have downbursts. Downbursts are short bursts of wind that blow down and out, kind of like the opposite of a tornado. Downbursts tend to form during thunderstorms, where air from the upper atmosphere is cooled from the precipitation, blowing directly downwards. And these bursts can last anywhere from seconds to minutes, although the destruction they can cause is extremely high, causing great damage to anything in its wake, as well as disrupting aircrafts nearby. Thundersnow is a rare winter phenomena where, as you may have guessed, lightning and thunder form during a snowstorm. These storms form just like typical thunderstorms would form, but in conditions where cold air is cold enough for it to snow, while warm air is warm enough for lightning to form. The thunder from these storms tends to be more muffled and less of a sharp bang that we typically would affiliate with thunder. Volcanic lightning tends to be one of the more raw forms of natural imagery. Volcanic lightning forms from ash plumes that are charged from particles of ash and sometimes ice. Not much to say on volcanic lightning except pictures of it look really cool. Haboobs are funny sounding dust storms that can cause some not so funny effects. Haboobs are dust storms carried by wind fronts that are formed during downbursts and thunderstorms in dry areas with loose soil. The main characteristic of haboobs are the wall of dust that is formed by powerful winds during the downburst, giving it a very imposing appearance to those that are in its path. Weather bombs, also known as explosive cyclogenesis, is a rapid deepening of low pressure storm systems. The decline in central pressure must be a drop of 24 millibars in the span of 24 hours. This causes powerful cyclones to develop explosively, get it? Like a bomb, creating devastating winds seemingly out of nowhere. And yeah, nah, this isn't like a bomb that causes like a thunderstorm or something. This is just a natural phenomena where cyclones can develop extremely rapidly. Steam devils are weak funnels of wind that form over water and wetland areas and draw in a lot of fog. Steam devils form when cold air blows over warm water, usually in lakes or oceans, and frequently at geysers. These are pretty much little waterspouts in a way. Snownados are tornadoes that touch down over snow covered areas where the air above is warm enough for them to form. Due to the super specific conditions for these to form, these are very rare natural phenomena. Snowspouts are waterspouts that form over areas typically during snowstorms and tend to be weaker than typical waterspouts. And smaller whirlwinds that pick up snow are also referred to as snownados or snow devils and tend to just be kind of cool to spot when you're out and sledding or something. Blood rain is often used in literary and religious works, but many people throughout history have reported blood red rainfalls. But as you might have guessed, this isn't blood falling from the sky. Instead, it is rain with spores of green microalgae that manage to get up all the way to rain droplets, causing its blood-like appearance. People also believe that dust from areas that have a red gain to the ground tend to have high concentrations of iron in them, causing certain blood rains that that might have like an irony taste to it, so some people might even just freak out and think it's blood. Light pillars are an atmospheric phenomenon where vertical beams of light will appear in the sky. These pillars are referred to as ice pillars due to them forming when light reflects off of ice crystals in the air. These pillars are caused by many light sources, including the sun, moonlight, volcanoes, and many man-made light sources. Down to the depths of Tier 8, we start with molten glass rain. Now, you might think the storms here on Earth get crazy, but nothing here on Earth compares to the wild weather of planet HD 1897333b. The gas giant is 64.5 light years away, and it is larger than Jupiter, as well as orbiting its star in merely 2.2 days. And to make this planet even more insane, its close proximity to its host star causes the planet to reach temperatures of 1,300 degrees Fahrenheit, with wind speeds of 5,400 miles per hour. This causes silicate particles in the air to melt, causing a permanent molten glass rain flowing sideways. So yeah, every day, or I guess it's like a year, every 2 days is pretty much a year, is just going to be an absolute, just horrible time to get through. They still aren't going to cancel school. Another wacky planet with wacky weather is Taret 7b. The rocky exoplanet is 489 light years away and is larger than Earth and orbits its star in 3.7 days. It is 23 times closer to its host star than Mercury is, causing the planet to have one side always facing towards the star, similar to how our moon faces the Earth. This causes its hot side to reach temperatures of 4,220 degrees Fahrenheit, so hot that it vaporizes rock. this gives the planet an atmosphere consisting of rock vapor clouds. And like how weather has a condensation phase, the vaporized rock will condensate into pebbles and fall onto the molten surface where the cycle will continue. So this is a very weird situation where it's raining rocks into lakes of lava. Yeah, they're not going to cancel school though. Ballooning is a process in which silk-spinning creatures such as spiders will go airborne and ride the wind. Invertebrates will do this to spread out in order to not compete with their thousands of siblings for food. And these little guys can go far if they catch a major wind channel, with spiders being found landing on ships in the middle of the Atlantic. Ballooning is a bit of a double-edged sword, with many airborne predators being able to take advantage of the bugs being defenseless while airborne, along with them having no control over where they land, with many of them landing in the ocean or just other inhabitable locations. Now, many of you have probably heard of instances of animals falling from the sky in large numbers, and since a lot of these are aquatic, you can kind of use the explanation for this story as a catch-all for aquatic animals. However, a more specific example is found in Lloro, Honduras every year, where an event known as Lluvia de Peces, translating to the rain of fish, will occur, where fish will fall from the sky about 4 times a year annually. Local folklore claims that the rain of fish was caused by a priest known as Father Sobriana, who prayed to God for 3 days and 3 nights to give the poor people of the land food to eat. God answered the Father's prayers by raining down tasty fish for the people to eat, with people hosting festivals and celebrations of the miracle that occurs annually. This miracle can be explained by scientists who studied the weather of the region, finding that this rainfall of fish is caused by strong winds or by waterspouts lifting fish and other aquatic animals out of the water and into the air to fall in the nearby region in the towns over to the side. And for the final entry of the final tier, we have human rain. Now, I don't know exactly what this entry is referring to, so I got a couple of thought-provoking explanations of what it could be. Of course, in the Bible, Lucifer and his fathers were kicked out of heaven, with literature such as John Milton's Paradise Lost opening with Lucifer and the other fallen angels raining from heaven down to the earth below. Another way to explain this entry is to go off of the last entry of fish getting sucked up into the sky and apply it to humans, and many people are lost in tornadoes every year, but to imagine the loss of life on par with the level of all of these fishes I see in the images would be really catastrophic, if really dark imagery. This could also be applied to large numbers of people falling out of planes or of towers. And a final way of thinking about this entry is a process known as cloud seeding. And although this isn't humans falling out of the sky, it's humans making stuff fall out of the sky. Cloud seeding is a process where people manipulate the development of weather systems using several methods to get desired outcomes. This manipulation of weather is widely seen as our governments attempting to play God, seeding into countless conspiracy theories. However, this can potentially save countless lives by destroying hurricanes, although this could end up having the inverse effect of them accidentally making stronger storms and even worse conditions. Such is the hubris of man attempting to play God. And fellas, that's gonna do it for the Iceberg. How you doing? It's been a while. I've been pretty busy with school. This has been pretty big workload, so I've been getting through that. Haven't had much time to make a video, so I've just been kind of making this script throughout the semester, just looking into stuff like this. I definitely saw the channel got a lot of growth though, and I'm extremely thankful to that. The last video did extremely well, and although this is a way more brief and probably not as interesting of a topic, I do want to kind of put this out there to kind of announce that I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos on the channel. Okay, don't worry. I definitely got a lot more time now that the semester's over to get some more videos out there. So I was thinking couple more icebergs probably, but also I would not mind doing some non-iceberg content. I got a couple ideas for some videos, so I much appreciate your time though, and I appreciate your presence. So if you got this far in the video, I'd like to say thank you, but I would also like to ask if you got any ideas. What should I do? What weather phenomena weren't on this iceberg? Tsunamis aren't on here, but maybe that's more of a tectonic thing, and this is kind of more of a sky-focused phenomena iceberg, so I don't know. But anyways, if you like this video, I'd much appreciate you leaving a like, commenting what you think, and if you aren't subscribed to the channel already, go ahead and subscribe, join the club, pull a seat up to the lunch table. But anyways, thank you for your time, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.